Hello and welcome to Correspondence, the best from France 24's teams around the world. This week we're just outside Paris at the Château de Vincennes, a place at the heart of French royalty, until that is the Château de Versailles came along. Well, after the revolution it served as a prison, under Napoleon as a barracks, and it was heavily damaged during the liberation of Paris in 1944. Now fully restored, it's home to France's military archives. Coming up, reports from Sudan, Greece and Gibraltar, but first we take you to Cuba, the country known for its health system. It's already submitted 2 Covid-19 vaccines for international authorization. On the ground, health workers are already getting their first jabs. This from Ed Augustin.
It's a big day for Marcus Pando, a young stomatologist in Havana.
Ya voy a recibir la primera dosis y es favorable para estar protegido en la labor que realizo.
Did it hurt?
No duele nada y muy rápido.
And what happens next?
Ahora en 28 días recibo la segunda dosis.
Cuba's vaccines have not yet been approved by the country's regulator. Nonetheless, health workers in the capital, Havana, are receiving their jabs.
Llevamos en esta etapa de la fase 3 del ensayo clínico alrededor de 15 días y ninguno de nuestros pacientes ha sufrido ninguna reacción adversa grave.
Vaccination can't come soon enough. The pandemic has eliminated tourism, reduced money for imports, and led to gigantic queues. Scarcity in Cuba is so pronounced right now that it's even hard to track down necessities like rice and paracetamol. And yet, of the 23 coronavirus vaccines in the final stages of testing around the world, 2 are Cuban.
In order to have our sovereignty, we need to have our vaccine. In 9 months, we developed from an idea to a vaccine to be proved in phase 3 clinical trial. And this can be considered incredible.
Over 1 million doses have been manufactured so far, but the clock is ticking. Will every Cuban get the jab this year?
Por supuesto, estamos diciendo que la población cubana necesita entre 20 y 30 millones y nosotros debemos producir un poco más.
But until herd immunity is reached, young doctors like Marcos will continue to be pulled away from their specialties and drafted into the battle against COVID.
Well, the Château de Vincennes is home to France's vast military archives. Down here in the vaults, records on army officers going back over 2 centuries. Put all these files together and they'd stretch out for over 120 kilometres. Our next report comes from Sudan. It's been 2 years now since Omar al-Bashir, the man who'd ruled the country for 3 decades, stepped down after months of bloody protests. Our reporter Elodie Cousin met some of the families still searching for loved ones who went missing during the revolution.
The crackdown on the 2019 revolution left around 250 dead. Many people are still missing. 2 years later, what happened to them is still uncertain. This woman's brother took part in a protest in May 2019. She hasn't heard from him since.
طول ما القضية حقت المفقود لسه ما خلصت نحن على قلق دايم. القضية بتاعت المفقود مفروض تنحسم بأي صورة كانت. ما احنا اصلا قبلنا وعرفنا الحاصل. الصورة بقت واضحة. وين العدالة؟
The revolution ended in a bloodbath. Witnesses accused the rapid support forces of having used disproportionate violence. They answer to the man who's currently second in charge of the Sovereign Council that's overseeing the country's democratic transition. The investigation is moving slowly. Rights campaigners have started their own inquiry, which has recently made several disturbing discoveries. 1,200 bodies piled up in Khartoum's morgues, 150 in Wad Madani. Khalid Taha suspects some to be those flagged as having gone missing during the revolution and who were dumped here by authorities.
الحاجة الأكثر إثارة للشبهات إنه كل هذه الجسامين كانت بملابسها، يعني الموتى كانوا بملابسهم، وبعضهم كان في بعض وثائق إثبات الهوية في جيوبهم، بمعنى اعتبارهم مجهولين برضو حاجة مثيرة
According to Khalid Taha, some morgues were hiding the corpses, deliberately letting them decay in order to conceal their identities. The Ministry of Health is denying the accusations, blaming the situation on technical errors and administrative mistakes.
يعني أعطال متكررة أحيانا يتم حدوث عطل ويتم إصلاح هذا العطل. هذه العملية أدت إلى تحلل هذه الجسامين وفقدان الكثير من الأدلة.
The government's commission of inquiry into the massacres has promised justice will be done. But many doubt its independence and fear the culprits will never be named or convicted.
Well, next to Greece, where migration continues to put pressure on the island of Lesbos. Last year, its giant Moria camp was destroyed by fire, but now a new one, the largest in Europe, has sprung up to replace it. This from Mortaza Behboudi and Alexia Kefalas.
At a reception centre for refugees on Lesbos, the days are long and painful, especially for exiles like Lida and Shukran from Kabul in Afghanistan. She's a teacher and he's a painter. They arrived from neighbouring Turkey 2 years ago. But since then, their asylum requests have long gone unanswered. Their paintings are their only consolation.
This painting tells the story of refugees like us, of how we were looking for a better future and afraid of drowning, of how the NGOs have helped us, and we hope that one day we'll be able to fly from here.
6 months ago, they were still living at the infamous Moria camp, the biggest and most unsanitary refugee camp in all of Europe. Last September, a huge fire ravaged it, and all asylum seekers were transferred to this former Greek army shooting camp.
It's not much better here. There's a lack of doctors. Those who are there only give us paracetamol.
I didn't imagine Europe like this. I thought it was all about security and education. I was a teacher in Kabul, and I'm very sad to see children here playing with trash and doing nothing else.
It's time to queue up for lunch. I have to go. I'll see you later. Look at the electric cables. They're everywhere. As soon as there's bad weather, the tents can easily go up in flames because they get flooded.
The Greek government has pledged to build a new reception centre on the other side of the island. But in the face of protests from locals, the project is lagging behind. In the meantime, some refugees are getting mobilised for action. Mariam is also a refugee and has chosen not to give up.
There are over 300 pregnant women and 400 babies being assisted. We give milk and food.
Health measures put in place due to the Covid-19 pandemic have not helped the situation, which remains extremely fragile.
We're here at the Chateau de Vincennes. Almost 1,000 drawers make up the wall of maps. Maps going back over almost 3 centuries of French military activity. One strategically important location over the years has been the British overseas territory of Gibraltar. Now it's also become a bit of a test case in the fight against Covid-19. That after the UK sent enough vaccine to inoculate its 35,000 residents. This from Anaïs Guérin and Sarah Morris.
The queue stretches back as far as the eye can see. More than 600 people are vaccinated here every day. All elderly British people have received their 2 jabs. And now it's the turn of the young.
The majority of my friends have been vaccinated. It's a privilege. It's been offered to us very quickly, and it would be a shame if we miss out on the opportunity.
Of the ROC's 35,000 residents, 90% have received at least their first jab of the Pfizer vaccine. To protect the health of the Gibraltar population, the authorities are also vaccinating Spaniards who work in the territory. There are 15,000 people in that situation.
Muy agradecidos por ello, porque en España a lo mejor hubiéramos tardado, no sé, para verano, seguramente.
A policy that is already making a difference. Since it began, not a single person has been hospitalised for COVID. And it's now no longer obligatory to wear a mask outside. There's also no curfew. Life is slowly returning to something more normal.
I mean, I'm going to be 82 in September, so I couldn't go out. I couldn't find my house. And I was there for about, I don't know how long, months and months. But now I can go out and I feel free.
The mood is changing, but no one in Gibraltar forgets that 90 people have died during the pandemic. Relations between the ROC and Downing Street were tense during Brexit negotiations. But the UK's sending of vaccines is a demonstration of support, says this analyst.
El Brexit ha sido un terremoto. De alguna manera, las vacunas o la situación de las vacunas viene a calmar esa situación, a destensar las relaciones, y en ese sentido puede ser positivo.
The success of the vaccination programme comes as the Spanish and British governments have until the end of June to hammer out the details of the post-Brexit agreement. The deal so far allows the ROC to form part of the Schengen zone.
That's it for this edition. On camera were Armel Kool and Georges Yazbek. Producing was Natasha Minnery. Thanks for watching, and thanks to the Chateau de Vincennes for hosting us.